Marcus Chen stood at the entrance of the Crystal Palace, trying not to stare at the magnificent structure before him. The entire building seemed to be carved from a single massive gemstone that caught and reflected light in ways that hurt his human eyes. After 6 months of preparation, he was finally here on Zephyria Prime as Earth's first cultural exchange diplomat. Remember, bow 3 times. Never touch anyone without permission. And for the love of all that's holy, don't mention the war, muttered Ambassador Rodriguez through Marcus's earpiece. You represent all of humanity today, Chen. Don't mess this up. Marcus adjusted his formal diplomatic uniform and walked through the palace doors. The hallway stretched endlessly before him, lined with crystalline beings who watched his every step. The Zephyrians were beautiful in an otherworldly way. Their bodies looked like living crystal sculptures, reflecting rainbow colors as they moved. Some were tall and elegant, others short and sturdy, but all of them sparkled like precious gems. The throne room was even more impressive than the hallway. Massive crystal formations grew from the floor and ceiling, creating natural pillars that sang in musical tones when the wind passed through them. At the far end of the room, on a throne that seemed to be made of pure starlight, sat King Valdris. His crystal body was deep blue, like sapphire, and his presence filled the entire room. Welcome, human diplomat Marcus Chen of Earth. The king's voice echoed through the chamber. We are honored by your presence at our court. Marcus walked forward, counting his steps carefully. He had practiced this moment hundreds of times. 3 steps, bow. 3 more steps, bow. 3 final steps, then the deepest bow. He made it through the first sequence perfectly, feeling proud of himself. On his second approach, disaster struck. A Zephyrian servant was carrying a tray of traditional welcome nectar, a glowing blue liquid that was supposed to be offered to honored guests. Marcus, concentrating so hard on his steps and bows, didn't see the servant approaching from his left. They collided gently, but it was enough to send the entire tray of nectar splashing across Marcus's white diplomatic uniform. The entire throne room fell silent. Marcus stood there, dripping with glowing blue liquid, his face red with embarrassment. He could feel the eyes of hundreds of Zephyrians watching him. This was exactly the kind of incident that could destroy relations between Earth and Zephyria before they even began. I am so sorry, Marcus stammered, trying to wipe the nectar from his jacket. I didn't mean to. Please do not worry, came a gentle voice from his right. Accidents happen to everyone. Marcus turned to see a Zephyrian approaching him. She was different from the others he had seen. Her crystal body was a beautiful pale green, like jade, but she moved with the help of an elegant device that supported her lower body. The device itself was a work of art, decorated with flowing patterns that matched her natural crystal formations. I am Princess Liralai, she said, offering him a clean cloth. And you are the human diplomat we have heard so much about. Your Highness, Marcus said, attempting another bow while trying not to drip on her. I'm Marcus Chen, and I'm making a terrible first impression. Princess Liralai laughed, a sound like gentle wind chimes. Not at all. In our culture, sharing nectar is actually a sign of good fortune. You have blessed us with your enthusiasm. Marcus couldn't help but smile at her kindness. As she helped him clean the worst of the nectar from his uniform, he found himself relaxing for the first time since arriving on the planet. The princess had an easy way about her that made him forget about protocol and just focus on the conversation. You know, Marcus said, still dabbing at his jacket. On Earth, when someone helps you like this, we'd say they're being a real friend. Actually, we might even say, I want to be your mate to show how grateful we are for the friendship. The words left his mouth before he could stop them. He had been trying to use one of the Zephyrian phrases he had learned during training, something that was supposed to mean friend or ally. But as soon as he spoke, The entire throne room became so quiet that Marcus could hear his own heartbeat. Every Zephyrian in the room was staring at him. Some had their crystal hands covering their mouths in shock. Others looked like they might faint. Even the king had risen from his throne, his blue crystal body glowing brighter with what Marcus hoped was not anger. Princess Lyrelei stood completely still for a long moment, her green crystal face showing an expression Marcus couldn't read. Then, to his surprise, tears began to form in her crystalline eyes, catching the light like tiny diamonds. You truly mean this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Mean what?" Marcus asked, confused and growing more worried by the second. "The bonding declaration," Princess Lyrelei said, her voice growing stronger. "You wish to become my life partner? To join your heart with mine in the sacred bond of eternal companionship?" Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. He looked around the throne room at all the watching faces, then back at the princess, who was looking at him with hope and joy that made his stomach drop. That is," Marcus stammered, trying to find words that wouldn't make this situation worse. "The human has declared his intention to bond with Princess Lyrelei," announced the king, his voice booming through the chamber. "This is a historic moment. The first interspecies bonding declaration in our recorded history." The throne room erupted in excited chatter. Zephyrians began glowing brighter, their crystal bodies reflecting their emotions. Some began singing in harmonious tones that filled the air with beautiful music. Princess Lyrelei stepped closer to Marcus, her eyes still sparkling with tears of happiness. "I accept your declaration, Marcus Chen of Earth," she said formally. "I would be honored to explore the possibility of bonding with you." Marcus opened his mouth to explain that there had been a misunderstanding, but the words wouldn't come. Looking into Princess Lyrelei's hopeful face, seeing how happy his accidental declaration had made her, he couldn't bring himself to crush her joy in front of her entire court. "The bonding ceremony will take place in 7 days," announced the king. "Let all of Zephyria celebrate this momentous occasion." As the throne room filled with celebration, Marcus stood frozen in place, still dripping with blue nectar, wondering how a simple diplomatic mission had turned into an engagement to an alien princess he had met 5 minutes ago. The worst part was, despite the panic rising in his chest, he couldn't help but notice that Princess Lyrelei had the most beautiful smile he had ever seen in any species. Marcus paced back and forth in his assigned quarters, still wearing his nectar-stained uniform. The celebration in the throne room had lasted 3 hours, and now he finally had a moment alone to panic properly. His hands shook as he activated his communication device to contact the Earth diplomatic team. "Ambassador Rodriguez, we have a problem," Marcus said the moment the connection opened. "A very big problem." "What kind of problem, Chen?" Ambassador Rodriguez's voice crackled through the speaker. "Did you insult their food? Forget to bow? Please tell me you didn't start an interplanetary war." "Worse," Marcus said, running his hands through his hair. "I accidentally proposed to their princess." The silence on the other end lasted so long that Marcus thought the connection had been lost. Finally, Rodriguez's voice came back, much quieter than before. "Run that by me again, Chen." Marcus explained the entire situation, from the nectar accident to his misunderstood attempt at friendship. With each word, he could practically hear Rodriguez's blood pressure rising. "You did what?" Rodriguez finally exploded. "Chen, do you have any idea what you've done? The Zephyrians take bonding declarations as sacred vows. If you back out now, they'll consider it an insult that could end all diplomatic relations between our species." "But it was an accident," Marcus protested. "Surely, if I explain—" "You can't explain," interrupted Dr. Sarah Kim, the team's xenocultural specialist. "Marcus, I've been studying Zephyrian customs for years. Breaking a bonding declaration is considered one of the worst possible insults in their society. It suggests that the person making the declaration was lying or treating their sacred customs as a joke. Marcus sank into a chair made of crystal that somehow molded itself to his body shape. So what am I supposed to do? Go through with a bonding ceremony to an alien princess I just met? For now, yes, Rodriguez said grimly. We need time to figure out a diplomatic solution. Spend time with the princess, learn about their customs, and whatever you do, don't make this situation worse. The next morning, Marcus found himself walking through the palace gardens with Princess Lyrelay. The gardens were unlike anything on Earth. Crystal trees grew in impossible spirals, their branches creating music when the wind passed through them. Flowers made of living light bloomed and changed colors as they watched. Your planet is beautiful, Marcus said, trying to make conversation while internally rehearsing ways to gently explain the misunderstanding. Thank you, Princess Lyrelay replied, her mobility device gliding smoothly along the crystal pathways. Though I imagine it is very different from Earth. I have been studying your world through the data transmissions your people sent ahead of your arrival. You've been studying Earth? Marcus asked, surprised. Princess Lyrelay's crystal face brightened with enthusiasm. Oh yes, I am what you might call a xenobiologist. I study how different species adapt and evolve on their home worlds. Earth's biodiversity is fascinating. So many different life forms, sharing one planet, working together in complex ecosystems. As she spoke, Marcus began to see a different side of the princess. Her eyes lit up as she discussed scientific concepts, and her knowledge of Earth biology was impressive. She wasn't just royalty going through diplomatic motions, she was genuinely intelligent and curious about his world. I've been particularly interested in human psychology, she continued, guiding him toward a crystal bench. Your species shows remarkable ability to form emotional bonds across family groups, cultures, even species. Most other races we've encountered are much more isolated in their thinking. What do you mean? Marcus asked, settling beside her on the bench. Well, take the Corthans, for example. They only form partnerships within their exact genetic lineage. The Vex cannot even comprehend emotional attachment beyond their immediate offspring. But humans... She paused, looking at him with genuine curiosity. Humans seem to have this unique ability to care about beings who are completely different from them. Marcus felt a strange warmth in his chest at her words. I guess we do tend to form friendships easily, even with people who seem very different on the surface. Yes, Princess Lyrelay said excitedly. That's exactly what I mean. In my research, I found records of humans who risked their lives to save animals, or who adopted children from completely different backgrounds, or who formed deep friendships with people they had nothing in common with except shared experiences. As they continued talking, Marcus found himself genuinely enjoying the conversation. Princess Lyrelay was not only intelligent, but also funny, asking questions about human customs that made him see his own species in new ways. Can I ask you something? Marcus said during a pause in their discussion. Of course. Your mobility device? Is it because of an injury? He immediately regretted the question, worried it might be rude, but Princess Lyrelay smiled. I was born with incomplete crystal formation in my lower extremities, she explained matter-of-factly. In Zephyrian culture, this is actually considered a mark of wisdom. We believe that those who experience the world differently have unique perspectives that benefit society. That's a beautiful way to look at it, Marcus said sincerely. Most other species don't see it that way, Princess Lyrelay said, her tone becoming sadder. The few diplomatic visitors we've had over the years have treated me as if I were fragile or incapable. Some have even suggested that I shouldn't participate in important decisions because of my condition. Marcus felt a surge of anger at the thought of anyone treating her that way. That's ridiculous. You're one of the most intelligent people I've ever met, and your research sounds fascinating. Princess Lyrelai turned to look at him, her crystal eyes wide with surprise. "You truly think so?" "Absolutely," Marcus said. "I'd love to hear more about your work." For the next 2 hours, Princess Lyrelai showed him her private research laboratory. The space was filled with data crystals containing information about dozens of different species. Her theories about interspecies cooperation were revolutionary, suggesting ways that different races could work together by combining their unique strengths rather than trying to overcome their differences. "This is incredible," Marcus said, studying a holographic display of her research. "You could change how the entire galaxy thinks about cooperation." "Perhaps," Princess Lyrelai said modestly. "Though it's difficult to test theories about interspecies bonding when most species won't even consider the possibility." Marcus was about to respond when his communication device buzzed urgently. He glanced at the message and felt his heart sink. "I'm sorry," he said to Princess Lyrelai. "I need to take this call." "Of course," she said understandingly. "I'll show you more of the research tomorrow if you'd like." Marcus smiled, realizing that he genuinely did want to see more. "I'd like that very much." He stepped into a private alcove and activated the communication device. Ambassador Rodriguez's face appeared, looking grim. "Chen, we have new orders from Earth Command," Rodriguez said without preamble. "They want you back immediately. They're calling this a diplomatic complication that needs to be resolved before it gets out of hand." Marcus felt something twist in his stomach. "But I'm just starting to understand their culture. And the princess is brilliant. Her research could benefit both our species." "That's not your decision to make," Rodriguez said firmly. "The transport ship will arrive tomorrow to take you back to Earth. Find a way to gently end this engagement, business, without causing an incident." The communication ended, leaving Marcus alone in the alcove. Through the crystal wall, he could see Princess Lyrelai working excitedly at her research station, probably preparing to show him new discoveries. Tomorrow. For the first time since arriving on Zephyria, Marcus realized he didn't want to leave. Marcus couldn't sleep that night. He lay on the crystal bed in his quarters, staring at the ceiling that sparkled with tiny lights like stars. Tomorrow, the Earth transport ship would arrive, and he would have to choose between his duty to Earth and something he was only beginning to understand. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Princess Lyrelai's excited face when she showed him her research. He thought about her theories on interspecies cooperation and how passionate she became when discussing the possibility of different races working together. The idea of disappointing her made his chest feel tight. At dawn, Marcus made his decision. He would tell her the truth about the translation mistake and let her decide what to do next. It was the right thing to do, even if it meant destroying the diplomatic mission. He found Princess Lyrelai in her research laboratory, already working on new data crystals. She looked up when he entered, her crystal face brightening with a smile that made Marcus's heart race. "Good morning, Marcus," she said warmly. "I've been working on something exciting to show you. I think I've found a pattern in how successful interspecies partnerships form." "Princess Lyrelai," Marcus began, his voice serious. "Before you show me anything else, I need to tell you something important. About yesterday, about the bonding declaration. You mean about how you accidentally mistranslated a human friendship phrase into a Zephyrian bonding proposal?" Princess Lyrelai asked calmly, not looking up from her work. Marcus felt like he'd been hit by lightning. You knew?" Princess Lyrelai finally turned to face him, and Marcus could see something complicated in her expression. "I've been studying human languages and customs for months in preparation for your arrival. I know the difference between your phrase, 'I want to be your mate,' meaning friendship, and our bonding declaration." "Then why didn't you say anything?" Marcus asked, confusion and hurt mixing in his voice. "Why did you let me think you believed I was serious?" Princess Lyrelai was quiet for a moment, her fingers tracing patterns on her mobility device. "Because I wanted to see what you would do, how you would react when faced with a situation you didn't understand." "I don't understand," Marcus said, sinking into a nearby chair. "Marcus, do you know how many species have visited our world in the past century?" Princess Lyrelay asked. "No, how many?" 47, she said. "And do you know how many of them treated me as anything more than a curiosity or a limitation to be worked around?" Marcus felt his stomach drop as he began to understand. "None of them." "Correct," Princess Lyrelay said, her voice growing stronger. "The Vorthak delegation suggested I shouldn't attend diplomatic meetings because my condition might distract from serious discussions. The Korathan ambassador refused to speak directly to me, addressing all his comments to my father instead. The Zalith representative actually asked if my disability was contagious." Marcus felt anger building in his chest. That's horrible. "So when a human diplomat accidentally declared his intention to bond with me, I decided to conduct an experiment," Princess Lyrelay continued. "I wanted to see if humans were truly different, or if you would react like all the others once you understood the situation." "What kind of experiment?" Marcus asked. "I wanted to see if you would run away in panic, try to find excuses to avoid spending time with me, or treat me differently once you realized I wasn't just a normal princess, but someone with a physical condition. I wanted to know if humans could truly see past surface differences to appreciate someone for their mind and character." Marcus thought back over the past day and a half. "And what did you discover?" Princess Lyrelay's expression softened. "That you are exactly what your species claims to be. You didn't run away. You didn't treat me like I was fragile or incapable. You listened to my research, asked intelligent questions, and treated me like an equal. You even got angry on my behalf when I told you how others had treated me." "So this whole thing was a test?" Marcus asked, not sure whether to be impressed or frustrated. "It started as a test," Princess Lyrelay admitted, "but somewhere along the way, it became something else. I found myself genuinely enjoying our conversations. Your perspective on interspecies cooperation matches my research in ways I never expected. And you—" She paused, looking uncertain for the first time since he'd known her. "You make me feel like my ideas matter." Marcus felt something warm spreading through his chest. "They do matter. Your research could change how the entire galaxy thinks about working together." "That's exactly what I mean," Princess Lyrelay said, her eyes lighting up again. "No one has ever said that to me before. Most beings see my research as a amusing hobby for a princess who can't participate in real royal duties." Before Marcus could respond, his communication device buzzed insistently. He glanced at it and saw multiple urgent messages from Ambassador Rodriguez. "The transport ship," Marcus said quietly. "They're here to take me back to Earth." "I know," Princess Lyrelay said. "I received notification an hour ago that Earth Command has ordered your immediate return." Marcus stood up, pacing to the window that overlooked the Crystal Gardens. "I don't know what to do. If I stay, I'm disobeying direct orders and potentially damaging Earth's relationship with other species. But if I leave—" "You'll be following protocol and doing your duty as a diplomat," Princess Lyrelay finished. "It's what any reasonable person would do." "But I don't want to leave," Marcus said, turning back to face her. "And not just because of the diplomatic mission. I want to see more of your research. I want to continue our conversations. I want to—" He paused, searching for the right words. "I want to explore what this friendship could become." Princess Lyrelay's crystal features showed surprise. "Even knowing that it would complicate your life significantly? That our species have never successfully formed lasting partnerships?" "Especially knowing that," Marcus said firmly. "That's exactly the kind of challenge that makes it worth pursuing." Before Princess Lyrelay could respond, the laboratory doors opened suddenly, A tall Zephyrian with dark purple crystal formations strode into the room, his presence immediately making the air feel tense. "Princess Lyrelay," the newcomer said formally, barely glancing at Marcus. "I am Lord Thaxion of the High Council. I have come to discuss this situation with the human." "Lord Thaxion," Princess Lyrelay replied coolly, "what brings you to my laboratory?" "This bonding declaration has caused quite a stir among the noble houses," Lord Thaxion said, his crystal body glowing with barely contained emotion. "Many of us have concerns about the wisdom of such an arrangement." "What kind of concerns?" Marcus asked, stepping closer to Princess Lyrelay. Lord Thaxion finally looked directly at Marcus, his expression making it clear he found the human lacking. "Concerns about genetic compatibility, cultural differences, and the future stability of our royal line. Some of us believe that this proposed bonding would weaken Princess Lyrelay's position as heir to the throne." "With respect, Lord Thaxion," Princess Lyrelay said, her voice growing cold, "my bonding choices are not subject to approval by the High Council." "Perhaps not," Lord Thaxion replied, "but tradition allows for challenges to bonding declarations that may not be in the best interests of the royal family or our people." Marcus felt his heart sink. "What kind of challenge?" Lord Thaxion smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "I invoke the right of proof of worth. The human must demonstrate that this bonding would benefit our people more than it would harm them. He has 3 days to accept the challenge or withdraw his declaration in shame." The laboratory fell silent except for the gentle humming of the crystal formations around them. Marcus looked at Princess Lyrelay, who appeared shocked by Lord Thaxion's announcement. "And if I refuse the challenge and withdraw the declaration?" Marcus asked. "Then you will be marked as unworthy and banned from ever returning to Zephyrian space," Lord Thaxion said with satisfaction, "and Princess Lyrelay will be considered compromised in her judgment for accepting the declaration of such a being." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. The challenge wasn't just about him, it was designed to hurt Princess Lyrelay regardless of what he chose. "I accept your challenge," Marcus said firmly, surprising everyone in the room, including himself. Lord Thaxion's crystal features showed surprise at Marcus's quick acceptance of the challenge. "You accept? Without even knowing what the proof of worth entails?" "I accept," Marcus repeated firmly. "But I have one condition." "Humans do not get to make conditions," Lord Thaxion said with disdain. "This human does," Marcus replied, standing straighter. "If I'm going to prove that my bonding with Princess Lyrelay would benefit your people, then she should be part of the proof. We work together, or not at all." Princess Lyrelay looked at Marcus with surprise and something that might have been admiration. "Marcus, you don't understand. The proof of worth is traditionally a solo challenge. You would be expected to demonstrate your abilities alone." "Then maybe it's time for a new tradition," Marcus said, looking directly at Lord Thaxion. "After all, the whole point is to show how a partnership between our species could work, right? What better way to prove that than by actually demonstrating it?" Lord Thaxion's crystal body flickered with irritation. "This is highly irregular. The High Council would need to approve such a change to ancient tradition." "Then call them," Marcus said simply. "I'll wait." 2 hours later, Marcus and Princess Lyrelay stood before the assembled High Council in the Great Chamber. 12 Zephyrian nobles sat in a circle, their crystal bodies creating a rainbow of colors around the room. Lord Thaxion had clearly spent the time building support for his position, as several council members looked skeptical about Marcus's proposed changes. "The human requests to modify sacred tradition," announced Councillor Vexera, an elderly Zephyrian, whose crystal body was nearly transparent with age. "This is unprecedented." "But not forbidden," Princess Lyrelay pointed out. "The old texts say that the proof of worth must demonstrate benefit to our people. They don't specify that it must be done alone." "The princess speaks wisely," said Counselor Morden, whose crystal formations glowed with soft purple light. "Perhaps we should hear what the human proposes before we reject his request." Marcus took a deep breath, grateful for his diplomatic training. "Honored Council, I propose that Princess Lyreley and I work together to solve a real problem affecting both our worlds. If we can demonstrate that human-Zephyrian cooperation produces better results than either species could achieve alone, wouldn't that prove the value of our partnership?" "And what problem do you propose to solve?" Lord Thaxian asked skeptically. Marcus looked at Princess Lyreley, who nodded encouragingly. "The space anomaly in the Nexus trade route," Marcus said. "The one that's been disrupting commerce between our systems for the past 6 months. The council chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. The Nexus trade route was the main shipping lane between Zephyrian space and several other systems, including Earth. The mysterious anomaly had been causing ships to lose navigation, forcing them to take longer, more expensive routes. That anomaly has puzzled our best scientists for months," Counselor Vexara said. "What makes you think you can solve it?" "Because human and Zephyrian minds work differently," Princess Lyreley said, speaking for the first time. "My research shows that humans excel at creative, intuitive thinking, while we Zephyrians are better at systematic analysis. Together we might see solutions that neither species could find alone." "This is ridiculous," Lord Thaxian protested. "You're suggesting that a human diplomat and a princess with no field experience can solve a problem that has stumped our greatest minds?" "I'm suggesting that we try," Marcus said. "If we fail, I'll withdraw my bonding declaration and leave Zephyrian space forever. But if we succeed, the High Council acknowledges that human-Zephyrian partnerships have value." The council debated for an hour before reaching their decision. Marcus and Princess Lyreley would have 3 days to study the anomaly and present a solution. If their solution worked, the bonding would be considered proven beneficial. If not, Marcus would be exiled and Princess Lyreley would face consequences for supporting an unworthy partnership. That evening, Marcus and Princess Lyreley worked late in her laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays showing data about the space anomaly. The readings were confusing and contradictory. Sometimes the anomaly appeared to be a gravitational distortion, other times it seemed like an energy field, and occasionally it vanished completely, only to reappear hours later in a slightly different location. "Our scientists have been treating this as a single phenomenon," Princess Lyreley said, manipulating the holographic display to show different data patterns. "They've been looking for one cause that explains all the readings." Marcus studied the patterns, letting his mind wander, the way humans did when trying to solve puzzles. "What if it's not one thing?" he said suddenly. "What do you mean?" "Look at these timing patterns," Marcus said, pointing to different sections of data. "The gravitational readings happen every 47 hours. The energy field readings happen every 31 hours. The disappearances happen every 19 hours. Those aren't random numbers." Princess Lyreley's eyes widened as she understood. "They're orbital periods. You think there are 3 separate objects causing different effects?" "Exactly," Marcus said excitedly. "What if there are 3 small objects orbiting each other in the anomaly zone? When they align in certain ways, their combined effects create what looks like one big mystery." Princess Lyreley began running calculations on her computer systems, her crystal fingers flying over the controls. "If you're right, and we can predict when the objects will be in safe alignment, ships could time their passage to avoid the dangerous periods." They worked through the night, combining Marcus's intuitive pattern recognition with Princess Lyreley's mathematical precision. By dawn, they had developed a model that explained all the anomaly's behavior and predicted safe passage windows. "It's elegant," Princess Lyreley said, admiring their work. "Simple enough to implement immediately, but sophisticated enough to be reliable." "Now we just have to hope it works," Marcus said. The next day, they presented their solution to the High Council. Lord Thaxion looked skeptical as Princess Lorelei explained their theory about the 3 orbiting objects and demonstrated their mathematical model. "This is all very interesting," Lord Thaxion said when they finished. "But theory is not proof. How do we know this will actually work?" "We test it," Marcus said. "Right now." Within hours, a volunteer trade ship agreed to test their passage window predictions. Marcus, Princess Lorelei, and the entire High Council watched nervously as the ship approached the anomaly zone during what their calculations said should be a safe window. The ship passed through without any problems. "One successful passage proves nothing," Lord Thaxion said, though he looked less confident than before. "Then we'll test it again," Princess Lorelei said. "And again until you're satisfied." Over the next 2 days, 12 ships used their passage window predictions to safely navigate through the anomaly zone. The trade route that had been effectively closed for 6 months was suddenly open again, saving millions of credits in shipping costs and restoring important commercial relationships. "The solution works perfectly," admitted Councillor Vexara during the final council session. "Trade is flowing normally again, and our shipping partners are grateful for the restored route." "More importantly," added Councillor Mordun, "this solution could never have been found by either species alone. It required human intuitive thinking combined with Zephyrian analytical precision." Lord Thaxion stood slowly, his crystal body dim with defeat. "The humans have proven their worth," he said, formally. "The bonding declaration is validated." As the council session ended, Marcus felt a weight lift from his shoulders. But when he looked at Princess Lorelei, he saw something complicated in her expression. "We did it," he said. "We proved that our partnership works." "Yes," Princess Lorelei said quietly. "But now we have to decide what that partnership actually means." Marcus realized that solving the challenge was only the beginning. Now they had to figure out what they really wanted their relationship to become. The celebration in the Crystal Palace lasted well into the night, but Marcus found himself standing alone on a balcony overlooking the glowing gardens. The successful reopening of the trade route had made him a hero to the Zephyrian people, but his mind was focused on more personal matters. "You look troubled for someone who just saved galactic commerce," Princess Lorelei said, joining him at the balcony railing. Her crystal body caught the light from the garden below, creating patterns of green and gold that danced across the walls. "I've been thinking about what happens next," Marcus said honestly. "We proved that human Zephyrian cooperation works for solving problems, but we still haven't talked about what it means for us personally." Princess Lorelei was quiet for a moment, watching the crystal flowers bloom and change colors in the garden below. "Are you having second thoughts about the bonding declaration?" "No," Marcus said quickly, then paused. "Well, not exactly. I'm having thoughts about what the declaration actually means. 3 days ago, it was a mistake that we were both trying to figure out how to fix. Now it's something we both chose to defend," Princess Lorelei finished. "I understand your confusion. I've been thinking about the same thing." Marcus turned to face her fully. "Lorelei, I need to be completely honest with you. When I first made that accidental declaration, I was terrified because I thought it would ruin my diplomatic career. But now, after working with you, seeing your brilliant mind and watching how you care about bringing different species together, I'm terrified for a completely different reason." "What reason?" she asked softly. "I'm terrified because I realize I don't want this to be just about proving a point to the High Council," Marcus said. "Somewhere along the way, this stopped being about diplomacy for me. I genuinely care about you, and I want to explore what a real partnership between us could become." Princess Lorelei's crystal features showed surprise, then something that looked like relief. "I was hoping you would say something like that, but I wasn't sure if you felt obligated to continue because of the political situation." "Not at all," Marcus said firmly. Politics aside, bonding declarations aside, diplomatic missions aside, I want to spend more time with you. I want to continue working on research together. I want to learn more about your culture, and I want you to learn about mine. I want to see what happens when two people from different worlds decide to build something together. Princess Lyrelay smiled, the kind of genuine, happy smile that made Marcus's heart race. I want all of those things too, but I think we should do them properly this time. What do you mean? I mean we should start over, Princess Lyrelay said, turning to face him fully. No accidental declarations, no diplomatic pressure, no political challenges. Just two people who are interested in getting to know each other better. Marcus felt a smile spreading across his face. I like that idea. Hi, I'm Marcus Chen from Earth. I'm a diplomat who's terrible at alien languages but pretty good at solving puzzles. Princess Lyrelay laughed, the wind chime sound that had charmed him from their first meeting. Hello, Marcus Chen from Earth. I'm Lyrelay of Zephyria. I'm a scientist who studies how different species can work together, and I think humans might be the most interesting species I've ever encountered. Why is that? Marcus asked, playing along with their fresh start. Because you're the first people who've ever looked at me and seen a research partner instead of a limitation, Princess Lyrelay said. And because your species seems to have this remarkable ability to care about others without expecting anything in return. Before Marcus could respond, they were interrupted by the arrival of Ambassador Rodriguez, who looked like he had run through the entire palace to find them. Chen, Rodriguez called out, slightly out of breath. There you are. We need to talk immediately. Ambassador, Marcus said, suddenly remembering that Earth Command had ordered his return. I can explain everything. No need to explain, Rodriguez said, surprising him. I just got off a 6-hour communication session with Earth Command, the Galactic Trade Commission, and representatives from 12 different species who use the Nexus trade route. Oh, Marcus said, unsure if that was good or bad news. Chen, do you have any idea what you've accomplished here? Rodriguez continued. The trade route solution isn't just saving money. It's changing how the entire galaxy thinks about interspecies cooperation. 3 different alien governments have already requested Earth's assistance with similar problems, specifically asking for human-alien partnership teams. Princess Lyrelay looked intrigued. Really? That's not even the best part, Rodriguez said, grinning. The Galactic Science Council wants to fund a permanent research facility for studying interspecies cooperation. They're offering to build it here on Zephyria, with Princess Lyrelay as the lead researcher and Marcus as the human liaison. Marcus felt his heart leap. Are you serious? Completely serious, Rodriguez said. Earth Command is calling this the biggest diplomatic breakthrough in human history. Instead of ordering you home, they're promoting you to Senior Cultural Exchange Specialist and assigning you to permanent duty here. Princess Lyrelay grabbed Marcus's hand, her crystal fingers warm against his skin. We could work together officially. We could study how different species solve problems, develop new cooperation methods, maybe even prevent conflicts before they start. It gets better, Rodriguez continued. The Zephyrian High Council just voted to create a new position, Interspecies Partnership Coordinator. 3 guesses who they want to fill it. Marcus looked at Princess Lyrelay, who was practically glowing with excitement. They want you to take the position? They want us to take it, she corrected. Together, as equal partners in developing relationships between Zephyria and other worlds. So, Rodriguez said, looking between them with amusement. What do you say? Ready to make this partnership official? Marcus and Princess Lyrelay looked at each other, both smiling. I think, Marcus said slowly, that sounds like exactly the kind of challenge humans were meant for. 2 months later, Marcus stood in the newly constructed Interspecies Research Center, watching Princess Lyrelay present their latest findings to a group of delegates from 7 different worlds. The facility was a marvel of combined technology. Human engineering creativity merged with Zephyrian crystal growing techniques had created something neither species could have built alone. The key insight, Princess Lyrelai was saying to the assembled delegates, is that every species has evolved different cognitive strengths. When we combine these strengths, instead of trying to overcome them, we can solve problems that seem impossible for any single species. The delegates, including the same Vorthak, Korathan, and Zelith representatives who had once dismissed Princess Lyrelai, now listened to her every word with respect and attention. The success of the Nexus trade route solution had opened minds across the galaxy to new possibilities. After the presentation, Marcus and Princess Lyrelai walked together through the research center's halls, past laboratories where mixed species teams worked on projects ranging from medical research to space exploration. "Remember when you thought you had accidentally proposed to an alien princess?" Princess Lyrelai said teasingly. "Remember when you thought you were testing whether humans could see past surface differences?" Marcus replied. "I think we both learned more than we expected." "Much more," Princess Lyrelai agreed, slipping her hand into his. "Though I have to admit I'm glad you made that translation mistake." "Me too," Marcus said, squeezing her hand gently. "It turns out the best diplomatic solutions are the ones where everyone wins." Outside the research center's crystal windows, ships from dozens of different worlds could be seen coming and going, carrying teams of mixed-species researchers to new projects across the galaxy. The accidental bonding declaration that had started as a diplomatic crisis had become the foundation for a new era of interspecies cooperation. And at the heart of it all, a human diplomat and a Zephyrian princess continued to prove that the most powerful force in the universe wasn't technology or military might. It was the simple decision to see others as partners rather than problems, and to build bridges instead of walls.